Welcome, people. This is Frank from Muskellunge Brewing Company. The purpose of this first video is to show you the brewing software that I plan to use for my planned commercial brewery. So, in a nutshell, many years ago, as a home brewer, when I decided to jump into 100% grain, I start searching out there for a software that allowed me to perform all the calculations that are required. And I really uh, didn't find what I was looking for. So I decided to write my own software, my own program. For that purpose, I use Microsoft Excel. So I'm going to open right now the software. Let me show it to you. So here it is. So the first thing that you do here is you enter the brewing date. It is programmed as today in Excel because every time that you open the software is going to bring in the current date. But you don't want to do that, so you enter today's date to start the process. So this is going to be used as a reference for tracking your fermentation process. So the next here is the beer name and then an alcohol volume that is set up for a homebrew batch. And one of the features of my software is that you can set up your grain bill based on a target alcohol by volume. So you enter here, say 6%. Based on that 6%, the software is going to calculate how much grain you need. It's one of the variables because the next variable used by the software is the percent extract CTDB. That is basically how much sugar you have stored in the grain on a dry basis. It is 0 right now because I have not set up my grain bill yet. So first thing here is the beer profile. So this drop down box allows you to select different beer profile and also different styles of beers. So if you want to do a lager, what is going to happen is that the software is going to pull for you a number of lager yeast that you can use. And this is a nice feature because it saves you a lot of time. Instead of manually going and finding out the kind of yeast that you may be able to use, the software does that for you. So if you go back, for example, and want to do a wheat profile, then it brings you the wheat yeast that are available. So, and as a final demonstration, if you want to make, say, a Belgian triple, that is a style of beer, it's going to pull for you all the yeast that are available, in this case, white yeast. I didn't set up my database with Y labs, only white yeast and omega. Okay, so let me go back to my ale profile and then set up with a 1056. That is quite a standard yeast. So the next thing is going to be just miscellaneous things like a brew house efficiency, moisture, and so forth. So going down is the water for brewing. So here you play around with the middle profile of your water. So you have available here magnesium bicarbonate, sodium, sulfate, and calcium. So here you play around. I mean, you punch in whatever values you want, and then you can have an idea how the water is going to look. And in this case, for 10 ppms of magnesium and a water volume of 5.5 gallons, you're going to have to add 2.1 grams of magnesium sulfate. So the good thing here is that it not only tells you the ppms of the magnesium, it also tells you how much sulfate you're adding. In this case, for every 10 ppms of magnesium, using magnesium sulfate, you're adding 39.5 ppms of sulfate. So the same applies to the other uh, uh, minerals that you want to add. Other things here, some things that software tells you that the residual alkalinity in millicoulomb per liters and also as ppms of calcium carbonate. Give you a ballpark for the predicted MAC pH and also give you the amount of chloride that you're adding to your water. So this is a really nice feature here, and you can have a complete uh, snapshot of your water. And this is assuming that you use reverse osmosis water. Okay, so going down, you go to the area of the grain bill. So you have base malts, specialty malts, roasted malts, and flake and others. So the first thing that you have to do here is select. So let's say I have a maximum of 4 options here as base malt. So let's say from the drop down box, I want to use a Swan Ale. So software is going to pull for you the characteristics of your grain, and then what you do here in the percent way by way, you add how much you want to put on the grain bill. So let's say you want to start with 75% of that. So it's going to calculate for you the maximum boiling points and the lobby bond. The lobby bond is a scale of the for color, for the grain, not for the beer, for the grain. Okay, so and then you go to the specialty malt and then say, okay, I want to add, let's say, put Brown Supreme from Swan also. And then you say, okay, let me put the 25% here that is remaining. And then you have the entire grain bill. So it's telling you that you have to weigh 7.2 pounds of Swan Ale and 2.4 pounds of the Brown Supreme. And you go down here, and the total bag size is going to be 9.5 pounds. Now, one of the biggest features of the software is that it allows you to predict the beer color. So when you go here to this glass, and based on the combination of these 2 grains here, you click, and it tells you or predict for you the color of your beer. And I assure you it works. I have been using this for a long time. I mean, this software for a long time, and the color is right in the money. And it took me a lot of time just to program this in Excel. There was a whole bunch of tiny bugs that I have to squash. And finally I got it. So it took me a while to go around, and it was a lot of work, but good thing I finally got it. So going back to the demonstration, let's say that you say, no, I want to do a porter. So you say, okay, so let me go down here. So you say, okay, I want to use a Briss Black Prince. And you say, okay, I'm going to take out here 5%. And I'm going to put 5 here. So it's going to tell you need half a pound of the Briss Black Prince. And when you click here, see it's turning dark. When you go down, software is telling you it's going to be a very dark amber and with an SRM of 36.6. XRM is a scale for the color of the beer, not the grain. It is a combined scale based on the selection that you do up here. Okay, so this is where you play around with your grain bill. And okay, going back to I just want to stress something here. The percent extra CGDB. So instead of coming down here and calculate an average, based on say 81 and 75, Breeze does not provide a percent extra CGDB for the black prints. You're going to get an average, but to me, it's not going to be accurate. I mean, I don't want to explain statistically why is that the case. The way around is to calculate a weight average. So the software for you calculate based on the percent weight by weight on the grain bill, what is going to be the contribution of the percent CGDB. So in this case, at 70%, the contribution for the Swan Ale is going to be 56.7, and in the case of the Brown Supreme, is going to be 18.8. So at the end, the software adds all that and have the weight average. And to me, this is more accurate. So I use that value instead of calculating an average. Okay. So this is what I got for the grain bill part of the software. Go down here on hops. I have a target of 25 IBUs. So you can come here from a drop-down box and select whatever you want to select, say Cascade, and for the second schedule, say you want a Centennial, and at the end is put Centennial again. So what is going to happen is that you punch in here the ounces, the percent alpha acid units, the time in which at which the hop is going to be exposed to the boil, and then the alpha acid units, and finally the IBUs. Contribution of the hops. Okay, here's the profile of your hop that you selected, and there's a potential substitute. So at the end, what does the software calculate the total IBU of your beer based on the individual contribution of the hop that you use for your hop schedule. So going down, you have the boil, and where you have the wort volume, expected boil gravity here, and then here you have the expected original gravity of your beer, of your wort, in this case not beer yet. So, and then you go to the mashing schedule, where you have the boil, you have the water absorbed by the grain, that kind of goodies, and then you have one of the important aspects here is the infusion temperature. So I set it at 156. The striking temperature, 174, and then finally you have the sparging water that you need. In this case, it's 77.2 gallons of water. And then here you have some physical, graphical representation of temperature profiles. And you go down here to process indexes. You have the different things that is going to characterize your process and your beer. So the apparent efficiency, for example, is the efficiency based on exclusively the wort gravity, and that you have overall efficiency that takes into account other things, and the brewhouse efficiency, that is the final indicator of your process, is basically take into account the moisture level of your grain, making some correction because of that. And then alcohol potential, and then at the end you have the final alcohol by volume, 6.3, based on the final gravity that you punch in here. And the prediction of your color and the scale, the SRM. And then lastly, you have here the fermentation schedule. Here's where the brewing date is gonna come into the game, because the software is going to be able to monitor your entire fermentation process based on those days by difference. It's going to calculate to you the primary fermentation time, secondary fermentation time, and finally carbonation. And lastly, here you have notes. So documentation is extremely important. So here I have plenty of space, as you can see, just to write whatever I need to write and document whatever happens during the not only during the brewing day, but also during fermentation or any event that happened in the life of this here. So this is my software. I hope that you enjoy my video, and if you have any questions, just let me know, and I'll be more than happy to answer all your comments or questions. Thank you, and cheers.